And we are back. I think I'm excited about today. There's been a lot happening, both personally, professionally, academically. When we get closer into like November, December months, you know that the semester's coming to an end. But we are also in a really good spot with my startup, Iyungta. We're going to make an announcement soon, so I'm excited about that. Just going through those processes and kind of waiting to see. So there's some anxiety, some nervousness, like all these things happening all at once. And also, it's like the end of the semester, and like all these creative ideas from these students are coming together and culminating in thesis projects and presentations. And they have the opportunity to showcase it for other eyes outside of mine and their own. So this is really good times, exciting times. But I want us to start off how we always start off with exercise and mindfulness, being conscious of our breath. Today's conversation is going to be I'm going to turn up the heat index and the volume a little. So I want to forewarn you that as an advisory that be warned the content will be a little bit more on the adult side. So viewer and listener discretion is advised. But yeah, 10 breaths, focus on your breath. I prefer that your eyes is closed, starting now. And I have a brain teaser for you, as always. This is where it starts. It says, I go in hard, come out soft, and you love to blow me. What am I? I go in hard, I come out soft, and you love to blow me. What am I? You're well aware of my fascination with human creativity, how I've studied it, my passion for it, and how I've explored it to the level that I've explored it, enough so that I found ways to, one, not only connect people to their creativity, but create space for it to continue to happen. And as I was thinking on that creative journey, I thought about how much in a huge part of my professional life, I was attached to this idea of design thinking, and it's a way of solving problems using empathy and connecting to people. And the more I explored it and the more I implemented it, I realized that I wasn't a fan of the approach of it, only because it was just so procedural. It was this step-by-step thing. And I've always felt creativity is chaotic. It doesn't follow form. The process might be one way, but it is not. It doesn't look the same or feel the same across individuals, across opportunities, across art. And I wanted to create space for that. And as I was thinking about that, and the emotional aspect, and then the connection to the five senses, and that kind of what led me to the workshops that I used to describe, or I still describe it as like an intimate experience and an experience with your five senses to hopefully unlock your sixth, which is intuition. And to think intuitively is almost is a huge part of creation and creativity. And as I was thinking about that and making that connection, there was a parallel and similarity that was like so obvious in this relationship that creativity has with sex and intercourse and intimacy. And as obvious as it seems as I'm talking about it now, at the time it didn't felt so obvious. And as I was thinking about my journey with creativity, I also, in that same line of thought, thought about the younger me, and my sexual experiences, and what I described as intimacy in my younger years, when I was a young boy with a lot more energy than I have today. And when I think back in those moments and what sex was for me, it felt more performative and almost prescriptive than it was pleasurable. And I'm saying that not because I didn't enjoy sex then. I think I enjoyed it a lot, and I did get pleasure from it. But when I measure it against the version of me today and how I experience sex today, it's like completely different. And I've seen a growth in not only in like the physical aspect of it, but from a holistic approach. And because I've become, over the course of however many years, become more self-aware, which has made me more socially aware and allowed me to embrace empathy and the relationships I share. And that in itself has been eye-opening to me as I'm like thinking through how these two versions of me are, I don't want to say they're opposites of each other, but it is, when I compare the intimate exchanges I had with my partners then and my partner now, it's like it's completely different. And there's more emphasis now on just being vulnerable in the space. Back then it was less about vulnerability. It's more about the pressures of having to deliver and just almost like not disappoint. And there was all this blockage that if I'm thinking about it now, it's like similar to the creative blockage that happens in any form of creativity, right? And I think for creativity to be pure and for it to be fruitful and for it to be authentic, it is based on vulnerability of everybody involved. And I think sex is the same way, right? There's this idea that, well, sex in itself requires some level of vulnerability. And when I think back on like who I was when I was a kid, when I was in the early stages of my life, in the early adult stages of my life, I don't know that I was open to the idea of being vulnerable, especially in those particular spaces. And because of that, I don't know that I created opportunity for myself to be vulnerable or to even enjoy the experience. It really wasn't a thing that I thought about. I didn't know what like intimacy was. I didn't know what being emotional and creating spaces for that was. And as I grew and I found creativity and understood the importance of for those spaces to exist, the importance of being conscious of where I find interest and where I find pleasure, and then translating that into and using that as tools and mechanisms to help guide my creativity. And when I was able to see those parallels and make that connection, I had creative explosions, literally and figuratively. And the simplest form, or the optimal, I guess is a better word, the most optimal form of creativity is sex. It's a creative experience. It is creative life force. I think it is the definition of creativity. And a huge part of that is like And in that creative process, the same things that happen when you're actively creating and creating art or creating whatever art shapes in your space. It's no different than the experience you're having while being intimate. I think it is the same level of dopamine boost. There's still the oxytocin and that bonding, that connection that exists, because creativity is a connection to either yourself or to the thing that you're creating. And the more I think about it, the more I understand the reason why the parallels exist between them, and why it is that they're so deeply connected. I think one of the things that especially when I'm like engaging with individuals who want to connect with their creativity, I spend time kind of like there's this, I don't want to use the word interrogation, but I create space to kind of allow them to be themselves, but I talk through who they think they are, what senses, which of their 5 senses speak to their soul, how they connect to things. And in it, I use that as a gateway to kind of pinpoint what is the starting point, and how do we use that to be able to help them make a connection. And it is really about being vulnerable and letting those inhibitions go. I feel like, and I can always sense when there's some uncomfortability, because a lot of this space and what we've created can be new, and for a lot of us, like, I think it's normal for human beings to kind of fear what they don't understand, or fear things that are like new to them and new experiences. And it's about creating a space that everybody feels comfortable in. And once we're able to at least get to the point where there's some level of comfortability, and we can kind of explore how do you define pleasure in that space? How do you know when you feel connected to something? And this is where the intimacy in creativity comes into play, where touch feels a little bit more connected. The way you hear and listen to things, smells, sight. Not only are they sensual, or they can be, they are also like, they trigger certain emotions and feelings. And I feel like for a lot of us, the creative process can in fact be orgasmic, and it's about the idea of all this energy that you have trapped, and these ideas, this then becomes the outlet for you. And it can be truly euphoric if it feels as if though it's all encompassing. And there's a deep relationship to those two acts, the act of creativity and creating art, and just intimacy in general. And the more I think about it, and the more I see the correlation that exists between the two, the more obvious it becomes. And it's remarkable how much of it is embodied in how much of the creative process is embodied in the act of sex and intimacy. And I always tell people that one of the reasons I practice like mindfulness, and this is a part of how we start off these conversations is because I always want you to be present. I always want to be present myself. And a huge part of intimacy is being in that moment and being conscious of everything that is happening. It's about body language. It's about knowing the space that you're in and flowing, this natural flow of the exchange of energy. And it is hard to be there and be present when your mind is somewhere else. And that in itself lends for experiences that we might not enjoy. It allows, or it doesn't allow us to get the level of pleasure we can from the experience just because we're just not there. And that is the same thing with the creative process. It can sometimes feel disconnected because your mind is all over the place, and that shows up in the art that comes out of it. So, like going back to the earlier thing, I think it's just like creativity. Sex is an act of vulnerability. It is an experience that can be amplified if in it you utilize and lean on all of your senses. A part of it is about flowing and going with what feels natural, what feels organic, what feels human. It is creativity in its purest form. It is life force. And there's some level of intentionality. You have to want to be in a creative process. You have to want to be present there. You have to have every intent to enjoy that particular moment. In both instances and in both processes, it can and it will be rewarding if you allow yourself to experience it to that level. And as I grew older and I started to appreciate that, it was less about what I find pleasurable or what the performance should be, and more about how can we create spaces where we both can show up as our authentic self. We both can be a part of the experience, and we both learn each other in every which way. And once I started to embrace that and embrace the idea of creating space for the process and seeing it as a journey in self-awareness, and then allowing not only space for myself to be consumed by the moment, but allowing my partner, for her to also find space, and also you see it as a creative act, and also find where the overlap happens in our creative process, and see it as that, a collaboration, an act of creativity that we can both be involved in and we can both experience simultaneously. And it became less about getting and finishing, and more about just, hey, let's just enjoy this process. Let's connect in a way that we've never connected before. Let's enjoy this space. Take me to where you find comfort. Take me to where you feel your most creative. What does creativity look like in this space for you? What about this space triggers that thing deep down in your soul that makes you feel sexy, makes you feel vulnerable, makes your skin tingle? What sounds trigger certain thoughts and feelings? What colors bring out that creative spark in you? What triggers you? How can we make this experience so explosive that it feels every bit of a work of art? I think sex is no different than art. It is the result of a connection. It is the result of attraction. It is desire. It is playfulness. It is being comfortable enough to take risk. It is pushing the boundaries. It is recognizing boundaries and acknowledging them. It is a work of art. And I'm fascinated by creativity. I'm fascinated by the ways it manifests. It is almost uncanny, the resemblance and the association that it has with the sexual experience. And I would encourage you that the next time you indulge or engage in intimacy, allow yourself to tap into whatever it is that makes you creative, all your creative triggers. Allow yourself the space to be vulnerable. Lean in on your playful energy. Lean in on your desires to want to explore. Welcome new experiences. And you'll be surprised how euphoric, how intense the art that you create in that time will be. I won't take too much or much more of your time. Tonight was a pleasure. And today was good. I want to end how we started. The riddle was, I go in hard and come out soft, and you love to blow me. What am I? I am chewing gum. As always, go be creative. Go find the pleasure in it. And hopefully that pleasure extends to your intimate lives as well. Go be great.